This sticky Thai pork really does tickle the right boxes to be in a complete dish. It's cheap, it's super easy to make, and best of all, it tastes absolutely incredible. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Alright guys, let's start this off with 80 grams or 2.8 ounces of unsalted peanuts, to which we can spread across a baking tray lined with parchment paper, then make our way over to a preheated oven set to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit and roast for 5 to 6 minutes or until deeply golden, and that then means we can remove these, turn off the oven as we no longer need it, and tip our nuts through the parchment paper express onto a chopping board. These can now be given a quick rough chop, and it doesn't need to be perfect, we only want them to be slightly broken up to create a nice texture in our final product. Also, these can easily be left out if you prefer. We're next going to need 3 freshly peeled garlic cloves, which can be gripped tightly and thinly sliced. And if you didn't know, slicing garlic instead of mincing it creates a more mellow flavour, as the allicin compound, which is what gives garlic its strong flavour and aroma, isn't broken down as much. Here we have 90 grams or 3.1 ounces of palm sugar, which can be substituted for brown sugar. Let's run it along the larger side of a grater to break it up, which will make it melt a lot easier. And obviously if you're using brown sugar, it doesn't need to be grated, which I actually think's impossible unless it's solidified. For the next ingredient, here is 6 fresh kaffir lime leaves. Stack them on top of one another and thinly slice into little strips, and you can also leave these out if you can't get hold of them, but I do highly recommend them as they add an incredible fresh citrus flavour and aroma. Now I know a lot of people don't like coriander or cilantro, but here is 20 grams or 0.7 ounces worth for the people that do like it, and with this, scrunch it up into a tight bunch to make it easier to work with, then come through with a sharp knife and give it a rough chop, which doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure there's no large leaves or stems. As for those who don't like it, you can leave it out, but I recommend not changing this recipe too much as all of the flavours work really well, and without each other, this recipe isn't going to be as good as it should be. We're now going to slice one large lime in half, reserving half for the end, and with the remaining half, extract the juice using a citrus juicer or your hand, and once that's done, this can be popped aside for the time being. Last but not least, for the prep, let's thinly slice one long red chili on a slight angle to create diamond or oval shaped pieces, and this is going to be used as a garnish, so if you're not a fan of a little bit of spice, this can easily be left out. To get this started, place a wok or large pan over a high heat. Once hot, pour in 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of peanut oil along with 500 grams or 1.1 pounds of pork mince or ground pork. Let's now break this up using tongs and fry for 4 to 5 minutes or until lightly browned off, moving it around pretty regularly. Once that's done, add in the thinly sliced garlic and continue frying for 1 minute, which will allow the garlic to start releasing its flavour, and this time keep it moving the whole time. After that's done, this can then be removed from the stovetop and tipped into a bowl for the time being, then place the wok or pan back over a medium-high heat. This time we're going to add in the palm or brown sugar along with 2.5 tablespoons or 50 milliliters of fish sauce and the thinly sliced kaffir lime leaves. Give this a good mix to allow those flavours to become friends, which will start to melt the sugar, and then bring this to a boil. The sugar adds sweetness, the fish sauce adds a salty tangy flavour, and the kaffir lime leaves add an amazing citrus infusion. Once at a boil, reduce the heat to low, give it a quick mix around and simmer for 1 to 1.5 minutes or until slightly thickened, and this right here is our sweet and salty caramel sauce. Now once that's achieved, add the pork and garlic mix back in along with any resting juices, also adding in 3/4 worth of the roasted and chopped peanuts and 45 grams or 1.5 ounces out of 60 grams or 2.1 ounces of fried shallots, then mix this all through, getting everything coated in that delicious sauce and fry for 1 minute. Next, add in the roughly chopped coriander or cilantro, the freshly squeezed lime juice, the remaining chopped and roasted peanuts, and the remaining fried shallots. Turn this off the heat and mix everything together until evenly combined, which can then be removed from the stovetop. Now place a clean pan over a high heat and once hot, pour in 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of peanut oil, add in 7 to 8 stems of broccolini along with a pinch of sea salt flakes to taste, and saute for 3 minutes, moving it around regularly just until we start to get some browning all over. You can also do a lot more broccolini if you prefer, but I'm cooking this for 2 people. Now that it's got some good colour on it, add in 1 bunch of baby pak choy that's been sliced in half and continue sauteing for 2 minutes, again moving it around regularly, and during this time the broccolini will soften and the pak choy will start to wilt and take on a slight charred and smoky flavour. This can now be turned off the heat and pour in 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of sesame oil to add a nice finishing touch and give it a quick mix through to coat. Also, the sesame oil is optional if you prefer not to use it, and then once that's all done, remove the pan from the stovetop. As for serving this up, place down the sauteed broccolini and baby pak choy with the amount being up to you. then come through and place over that sticky pork, creating a decent sized mound up top. We can now garnish this with the thinly sliced chili, which is of course optional, place over some fresh coriander or cilantro, which again is optional, then hit this up with a sprinkle of fried shallots to create a crispy texture, and serve this with the reserved lime cut into wedges, leaving us with this beautiful sticky Thai pork that looks, smells and tastes incredible, and it also has the most amazing texture. The only thing left to do now is squeeze over the lime to give it a fresh citrus kick, and then make all of our efforts worthwhile, which means we can then dig in.
So there we have it. This recipe right here serves 2 to 4 people, and like most of my recipes, it can easily be doubled, tripled and so on, or halved if you wanted to make less. To store it, you can place it in the fridge for up to 4 days and in the freezer for up to 4 months, and to reheat it, just place it back in a pan or wok over medium-high heat and just heat it up gently to get those flavors moving again. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button, comment, share, do all of that stuff. It really does help my channel out, and consider subscribing along with hitting that bell notification next to it so you never miss one I upload. Thanks for watching everyone, stay safe and enjoy.